Go. All right, and it's yet another season of the Locals Deck Profile Series. What is going on, everybody? It's RayD-TCG coming back at you live with another deck profile, and also featuring one of the regulars on this channel.
Howdy.
Oh boy, Guy, yeah, you've always got something interesting to play, but what were you playing tonight?
Okay, so I wanted to have fun before I lock in for the YCS, so I brought Artmage Fiendsmith for the past couple weeks.
Well, hey, this is the first Artmage deck profile on the channel, so without any further interruptions, why don't you take us through what you're playing?
Sure. So I kind of already laid it out because I was going over some changes before Ray started recording. So I'll just go to the non-engine first. Imperm, the reason I'm on Imperm as opposed to something more high impact in the main is because this deck likes to have spell traps to pitch, which we will get to. And it's the most generically good one because we can't play Purge or Impulse or any of the Dominus cards. Ash, stop Charmies. Fua is Charmy. Nib. Nib is realistically probably not great because like Dracotail usually doesn't play into it. K9 can stop it pretty easily. It doesn't do a lot in a lot of matchups, but at the same time, right? That means a lot of people are not necessarily worried about it and prepared for it. So like, even a couple of times I've had people here at the local just be like, Nib's not real, and then I drop it on them and they're like, well, Nib was real. Like, especially the Synchron player, it's good into that at least if you're worried about wombo combo like that.
Yeah.
And then talent called by, and I chose to main the Duster tonight because I changed up my side for the new upcoming ban list. We just decided we're just going to go ahead and do it.
Hey,
so,
you never know. If the opponent makes you go second, I mean, yeah, it's good to have a little bit of... If they go
first, it's good. So that's the non-engine. Engine stuff. Okay. We know what Fiendsmith does. In fact, I've talked about Fiendsmith on the channel before, so I'm not going to explain what these cards do. The only thing that I'll say about the ratios is I played 3 Tracked instead of like 3rd Engraver for the same reason as I'm on the Imperms is it's a spell I can pitch if I need to for the Artmage field spell, which I'll talk about in a sec. And I've main Paradise, same reason it's a trap I can pitch, so it's not necessarily a brick if you draw it. I usually side this out going second, and sometimes I side it out going first depending on the matchup, so I'll talk about the side. But there's nothing else to say about Fiendsmith. It's Fiendsmith. We know what these cards do.
Yeah, Fiendsmith is a pretty good engine.
So now let's talk about the interesting part of the deck, the Artmage stuff, because these guys have been a little bit slept on. Unless you play Genesys format, they're pretty good in Genesys format. I'm not crazy about the format, but it does have some interesting quirks and some interesting decks.
Actually, since you mentioned it, I was actually just watching Hardleg and MBT's stream today, and
shoutouts to the big guys.
Yeah, shoutouts to them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I need to catch up on that series, but so where do we start with Artmage? I guess we'll start with the field spell. You've heard of Triple D. How about Quintuple A, right? So Artmage, Academic Arcane Arts Acropolis. This is the magic school that all these kooky kids go to. So this card is kind of the bread and butter of the deck. It does a few things. So first thing,
sorry to interrupt. So
yeah.
it's kind of like Hogwarts in a sense, because
but without the transphobia.
Yeah.
It isn't Hogwarts.
So this card does several things for the deck. First thing, you get an extra normal summon of Medius, specifically, in addition to your normal summon. And the lock on it after you use its second effect that I'm about to tell you is interesting in that it locks you into Artmage, Medius, and the extra deck. So you can summon whatever you want from the extra deck under the lock. Just main deck, you can't... for Fiendsmith combo, right? It's like I can still, after I've done this, I can make Requiem, but then I can't use Requiem's effect because I can't summon this, right? I have to wait for the opponent's turn to like summon that from a dump Paradise. That's usually fine, but it is something you have to be conscious of. The main effect this card has is not once per turn, discard a spell or a trap from your hand, any spell or trap does it, as cost, to add an Artmage monster, any of these that you don't already have on the field and you haven't already declared off of this effect, right? So you can, essentially, you can just get all of them if you have enough stuff to pitch.
So pretty much this is the worst card in the deck to Ash.
Yeah, probably. Well, it depends, right? Like, if you're really afraid, because I do have to tell you which one I'm adding, if you're like, oh, I don't want you to have Finmill, like, if you know what they do, right? It's like, oh, I lose to Graph Flare, I lose to Finmill. Stop. You can stop me from getting that specific one. But, it's fine. Next, we'll talk about Alteration. This card does 2 things. If you don't have the field spell, it places the field spell from your deck. So that's nice, right? It doesn't play into Droll until this does, so you still get a guy. And if you already have the field spell, it lets you add any other Artmage card, which is nice. And then it also has a graveyard effect if an Artmage is targeted for an attack, you can banish it, negate the attack, and then if you want to summon Medius from hand, you can. I have never summoned the Medius, but I have negated the attacks to buy a turn because Fiendsmith stuff gives you follow-up. So sometimes that's relevant. Next card, we'll go with Assault. This one is the continuous spell of the deck, which matters for the monsters, which we'll talk about. When it's activated, it's Rhoda for Medius. You just add him, which is great. And if the field spell would be destroyed, like by Ghost Ogre, for example, or MST, which is relevant with Radiant Typhoon being in the format, you can send this to the grave instead, and that part is not a once per turn, which is weird. But you can only activate this once per turn. And the other once per turn effect on this card is you can target a monster you control, and if you fuse this turn, you can treat that monster as an Artmage, which is relevant for the extra deck. So that came up once or twice, because Medius is not technically an Artmage, right? So I'm like, target, make Medius an Artmage, make the Artmage Power Patron, which I'll get to. So all these cards mention Medius. We'll get to him in a second. Let's finish up the spell traps. Fusion spell, I play one of this. You don't really need more. I've thought about it because it has a good graveyard effect. But the gist of what it is, it's just a standard quick play fusion spell. It can summon anything, but you have to use an Artmage's material. So it's not like, say, Chimera Fusion, where you have to make a specific thing. So you can make like Guardian Chimera with this, which I have done. And its graveyard effect is banish this to shuffle 3 Artmage cards with different names from your grave back into the deck. So it's recursion. It doesn't get you a draw, so it can't be ashed. It can be belled, but it's fine. And you don't really want the draw anyway, because like you put him back in the deck to get him back off of this, right? That's the idea. And then the trap. I love the trap. Does 2 things, one or the other per turn, which is the only downside for the card. If you flip it up, it summons Medius or an Artmage, and then is branded lost. Your fusion effects can't be negated, right? Which is good on its own. But the better effect is you pitch it off the field spell, and it's in the grave, and while it's in the grave, it is inherently quick because it's a trap. You can banish it, target an Artmage you control, put it back in your hand, and if you do, non-target destroy card your opponent controls, which is really good. So like if they're also on a strategy that requires like a field spell or a continuous spell, like if they're playing, or like the Draco Tail spells and traps they get set, if they set their 1 Ketu, pop it. They don't have it anymore. If they go, if you're playing a mirror match, they go activate this. No, they didn't. Get rid of it. Fire King Island, get rid of it. Witch of the White Forest, get rid of it. It's good for stuff like that. Canine Lupus, he summon him, banish him when he leaves field, get rid of it. It's just good into the meta right now, and you can get it back after you do that, which is nice. And the last spell that I want to talk about is a non-standard choice. This is Theo Realized. This is not an Artmage card, technically, so you cannot search it. But the reason that I'm on it is because I'm on Fiendsmith cards. This is essentially a starter for both halves of the deck. What this does is it sends Medius to the graveyard as cost. That's the key part. So he's in the graveyard. And then you get to manipulate your opponent's top deck, which has come up. That is actually relevant. It's not nothing. So you get to look at it, and you can either leave it on top or you can put it on bottom. So like several games I've had where I'm like, send Medius, look at your top deck. Oh, you're going to draw a Charmy? I'm okay with that. And then like tonight I played against a Draco Tail player, and it's like the first time his top deck was Ash. Sure, I'll let him keep that. Follow-up turn, I used this again. His top deck was going to be Ketu, so I was like, absolutely not, put that on the bottom. You cannot have that. So it's good for that. But then the reason it's a Fiendsmith starter is the graveyard effect. You can banish this from your grave, and then target a monster you control, declare type and attribute. It becomes that type and attribute for the turn cycle. Mm-hmm. So Medius summon himself with his own effect from the grave. Theo realized this is a light fiend. Now he's Requiem.
Yeah, that checks out, man.
It gets you there, right?
Yeah.
So it's especially great when they like you start with this and they ash Medius to summon the Power Patron. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do Fiendsmith stuff. So that's all the spell traps. Let's actually talk about the monsters, and then we'll wrap up with the extra deck on the side. The boy himself, Medius the Pure. He is a Dark Fairy, which if you're a Dark Lord enjoyer with their new support coming out, could be relevant. Like Evening Star takes Dark Fairies, so you can level mod him for that. Something there. But what he actually does is, on summon, he gets you a Power Patron from your deck, either adds it to your hand or specials at your choice. So if you're under Fualos, you can add it to your hand, and if you did the like field spell to extra normal, you can just normal this and pass, and then fuse on their turn, which is cool. So you can summon any of the Power Patrons for any of the 3 archetypes in the lore, but for our purposes today, we're focusing on the Artmage one, the Owl. What he does, all 3 of the Power Patrons lock you into their summoning mechanic while they're up on the field, so you can't like link 2 with these. unless they imperm this guy or something like that. He's a quick effect fusion summon using himself, and he has to summon an Artmage, which is sometimes confusing, I will admit, when you're learning the deck, because this doesn't have to summon an Artmage, this does. So you just got to keep those in mind. And then when he is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, could be fusion material, could be discarded for Murakumo or Super Poly, could be your opponent punched over him, whatever. He doesn't care how he got there. He searches an Artmage card that's not already in your graveyard, so you get follow-up or extension, right? So like if you've already got your field spell and you need something else to pitch to get the other monsters, you can add the trap and then you pitch the trap to grab one of the other guys. So that's the heart and soul of the deck, and then the others are these three. So all three of them share an effect that if you control an Artmage card, which is usually going to be the field spell, sometimes the Power Patron, or the continuous spell that adds Medius. It's usually one of those two. You can special them from hand and do their unique thing. So all three of them have a unique thing. Lyra's thing. She's my favorite because I like the harp guitar if you look at the artwork. It's cool. Her thing is summon and add from grave to hand. So usually I add her first because if you've used your spell traps and they've been interacted with, usually what you have to do is you go like field spell, pitch this to add Lyra. Lyra effect, summon herself, add this back. Field spell, pitch this, add one of the other two. So you've got them now, right? It's nice. It's nice for that. The other two, Graph Flare, he's the 5, so for you K9 enjoyers, you tend to play more than one of him, but currently we're only playing one of all of them. His unique thing is summon him and set one of the spells from your deck. So he can set the field spell, he can set the fusion spell, he can, not this is not an Artmage card, set the continuous spell to get Medius if you don't already have him. I wish he could set the trap, but he cannot. And he is Mystical Space Typhoon. And it's a quick effect if you have 3 or more monster types. That's the other thing Artmage cards got, right? So MST is pretty good in this format. They made a deck around that card, so your inboard including MST, pretty good, right?
Oh yeah.
We love MST. And then the last one, Finmel. This is the big one. She's the 7. What she does is she summons herself and she draws a card, which is good. You can draw a non-engine, you can draw extension, something like that. More than once I have gone for Finmel and I drew one of my crazy powerful one-ofs post side, like Solemn Judgment happened the other day, or Droll and Lockbird happened one time, and then pass to your opponent. You have the whole board plus Droll, they're cooked, right?
Yeah.
Interaction on the opponent's turn, we talked about Graph Flare. Lyra can summon one from hand or grave and return herself to the hand, which usually means you summon the Power Patron, and then if you have either him or if you like set the quick play spell, you can make Guardian Chimera, which is good, or you can make the big Artmage boss monster, which is cool. And then Finmel's thing is Forbidden Droplet the opponent's board.
Yeah.
Which is, and the interesting thing I want to point out, because we've had to read her text several times tonight, is she negates them for forever, but the attack having is only for the turn, which is very weird, but that's what she says. So, and Droplet the whole board is just good, especially if you've let your opponent cook a little bit.
Yeah,
and they've got some bodies on the board, and you're like, no, stop it. It's good to cut off extension. So that covers the main deck.
I guess now it's off to the extra deck.
Yeah, let's talk about the extra deck real quick. So we'll pull out the Fiendsmith cards first because we all know what they do. We'll include Chaos Angel in that because you make him with the Fiendsmith cards most of the time, but I would like to point out that Engraver is a light level 6 and Medius is a dark level 4, so you can have access to Light Dark Chaos Angel in this deck. Usually, in my experience, it's only light, but the Light Dark one does come up. You can do it. We all know what Caesar does, we know what these guys do. Nothing to talk about there, we know what Fiendsmith does. The other interesting cards. We know what Typhon does, we know what SP does. I have only made Typhon a couple of times in this deck, but it's actually usually kind of pretty good because if you make him and survive a turn and do stuff on your opponent's turn with like the owl or something, it gets you follow up, and it's not actually always the surrender button. And then SP, we know what she does. I mentioned Guardian Chimera. We've probably seen this card on the channel before, but just in case, if you summon him with a spell effect, he can destroy cards up to the number of materials used from field and draw up to the number used from hand, which is usually a 2 on one side, 1 on the other because he takes 3 guys. Usually it's going to be destroy 2, draw 1, which is just good, and he's just a big body. Your opponent usually can't recover and punch over that. Sometimes they can. It has happened, but not always. Then the Artmage cards. Let's talk about Diactrys first. This is the guy that actually takes Medius. So usually what you do is Medius summon the owl. Owl fuse into this with itself and Medius. then the owl gets you a search, and this guy, basically he's your center end board piece. He cares about having different monster types, which if you noticed, all the Artmages are different. We got a dragon, a spellcaster, a warrior, a fairy. This is also a fairy, and an illusion. We have that for you illusion enjoyers out there. So he's negate for a card or effect on the field while that condition is met. Just negate activation, destroy that card, easy peasy. Is that boring? Kind of, but it's modern Yu-Gi-Oh! We gotta have that, right?
And at least it's conditional. So.
Yeah, exactly. It is conditional. You can't just first action slam him down. So at least there's that, right? You have to be playing Medius, and you have to be playing an Artmage monster. And if they out him, if this fusion summon card is destroyed, that does matter, because I played against Fire King and he's the Atlantis to me, so this was no longer a fusion summon. He can float into Medius from anywhere besides the graveyard, which is nice for surviving a turn or getting follow-up, because if you didn't use the owl yet, you can, you did this on your turn, then you go on their turn, you use this, and then they out it. You go float into Medius summon the owl, and the owl can either make the big guy that we're going to talk about in a second, or it body blocks and then gets a search because he went to the graveyard. So, clutch. We love the actress. We play 2 of him. Here's the big guy, the big power patron, Nerva. He does one thing, essentially. While you have a field spell, he can't destroy by card effects, so he's just a big body that they can't out easily, because he's 33. And he works similarly to Dracotel Gulamel would be the relevant card right now, to date this video. Is he has to chain directly to your Artmage. So your opponent can chain block it, when you go for the owl effect. But if they don't, he can chain to your Artmage effect, and that effect becomes wipe your opponent's board. He destroys monsters, spells, traps, the whole board is gone. So I have, sometimes, honestly, you don't want to activate that, I'll say that. There was one game I had where it was probably wrong that I did that, because I had already negated their monsters, and they didn't have back row to wipe. So I probably would have preferred the follow-up, but still, my opponent surrendered after that anyway, so it didn't ultimately matter. But something to keep in mind for anybody who wants to pick up the deck. Anything else to talk about Nerva? Not really. I guess for Genesys players, I'll say his summoning condition is easy to meet, because instead of fusion summoning him, you can also distribute 3 monsters with different types, which is cool. So he's kind of a Link 3 in the format that Link monsters aren't allowed in, if you want to think of him that way. So he has points on him for a reason. You can use him that way if you have stuff that cares about the graveyard. I don't know. Genesis Andes can cook with that. Last 2 cards on the extra deck. Hello, Ilya Sylvia Jump Scare. And you might be thinking, how are we making this? It's the materials. It takes an illusion monster, such as this, plus a light spellcaster. Well, guess what? We have that too. And oh, would you look at that? Polymerization. Wow. So yes, you can just, if you want to, if you have Litera, you can either start with this, or I've done it on the opponent's turn once, just with the owl. You can make Ilya Sylvia, and you have the Omni negate now. Congratulations. Instead of conditional on-field negate, what if you had actual Omni? That works, basically.
Yeah.
You don't make this often. You could realistically cut this if you don't want to play it, if you would rather play a tech card. But I'll say, talking about that, the guys that I was talking to before Ray showed up, I should mention this in this video. For the Fiendsmith cards, I should be on Necroquip Princess in this deck, because Theo realized using Medius as your light fiend means for graveyard follow-up, you are short one that you would expect to have. So I have just multiple times in multiple games I have messed up the combo and been like, oh, that doesn't get me there. Oops, which is embarrassing and not fun. So you could replace this with that. Or you could replace this last card with that. We're on the Doomsday rank for. Why are we on the Doomsday rank for? Well, that ties into the side deck that I'll talk about in a second. So I'll just go ahead and pull out the side deck and start explaining the combo. I am also siding the Doomsday Power Patron and the Doomsday Trap. This is a small package that I side for going first exclusively, and the reason that we're doing it, I will walk you through it real quick, just for everyone's sake. So Medius can summon any of the Power Patrons, right? So you Medius, summon Doomsday Power Patron. This guy, his effect is target a different monster you control, put a Doomsday Xyz on top of it that has the same rank as that monster's level. So Medius is a 4, you put the rank 4 on top. You can target an 8 to put the 8 on top, or a 10 for the 10. As long as the numbers line up, it's fine. It works. And then equip this card as an equip spell to the rank 4. So what our board looks like when we do that is like this. So then the actress on summon can destroy a Doomsday card in her hand or field to do nothing or pop a card. So if we wanted to like play Doomsday or if we were maining these, it would help break the board going second because it's a non-target pop. That's good enough. But what we're actually doing with it is we're popping the Doomsday Power Patron because when he's destroyed, he adds a Doomsday card from deck to hand. Right? They all add a card when you do their thing. So we add the trap. And then we set the trap and we pass turn, and then in their draw phase we activate the trap and it's draw. It's mistaken or mistake, whichever card you're familiar with. They can't add except by drawing. So it's just a floodgate that insulates us from the opponent playing through it, essentially. But obviously that's weaker going second, so that's why I'm siding it. So let's talk about...
Yeah, speaking of the sideboard,
So realistically, you could like side this with it if you want to. I didn't think about the side deck that much, honestly. It's just kind of what I've been doing for like meta practice. Only 2 droll because it's about to be, the new list is going into effect soon, so it's about to be semi.
Yeah, might as well get ready for it.
Yeah, might as well get ready for it. Exactly. So 2 droll, 2 ghost spell. Honestly, for the next format, I might main 3 of these if I can. Like, I'll replace the Nibiru or something. I'll think about it because it's really good into Draco Tail. It's decent into Canine. It's good into. Well, I guess it's kind of good against Radiant Typhoon now I think about it, but I don't have a ton of experience with that matchup, so I'd have to test it more. Speaking of kill Draco Tail, Retaliating Sea, I will say, Artmage does not like having their stuff banished either, so ideally, you stop Draco Tail with this, and then you out it on your own turn, so like maybe you should play, if you aren't on Fiendsmith stuff, you should play like Cross Sheep or something would be good in this deck. But on the other hand, if this guy gets negated, either you negate it, your opponent negates it, and it's just stuck there. It is another monster type you don't have. So that's something you can do. But for the most part, this is just the kill Draco Tail button. And then we have Perulia. You could also main this if you want to. I've thought about it. Like it depends on your deck. It depends on your non-engine choices. There's not a right or wrong answer in my opinion. I just chose to side it because I wanted more spells and traps in the main deck for Artmage specifically. And then the last ones are the go first win buttons. Floodgate, Tikaboo, because, Artmage cares about having different types. They are all different types. Well, here we go. It is what it is. And then the counter traps, because this is limited, so we can't play 3 of it anymore. I think you guys that have been on Ray's channel for a while remember I used to always play 3 of this.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm like,
sometimes purple card from 03 wins you game.
Literally. So, quick story. I played against the Draco Tail guy. Our game 3, we had a brick fest back and forth. And then I won the game in the end, finally. He went Fenrir Pass, essentially, was what it came down to. I went Engraver Effect in my grave. He belled it. I had drawn triple tack that turn, so I was trying to bait out the Fenrir to turn it on. But he used the bell, so I was like, okay, that works for me. Triple tack to take your Fenrir. He went Flame to negate the triple tack. I went, no, Judgment, you lose. So it works. That's kind of all I can think of to say. I think this one's run a little bit longer than usual. Ray can cut it down if he wants to.
Shoot. Hey, I really like this one. I might have to pick up the deck myself. I love fusion decks.
I will say, this deck is really fun, especially if you like the flexibility that it offers, because you compare Artmage with a lot of things. Honestly, just to share my thoughts, and Ray can cut it out if he wants to, is I love Canine, and Artmage Canine's probably the best way to play the deck. So if you have the Canine cards because you've been playing them for meta reasons, don't give them up, especially if you like this version. It pairs well, but I've been playing a lot of VS Canine. Like, I went and did well at a regional recently.
28th place, actually.
28th out of like 250, so...
Well done.
I've been playing a lot of it, and I wanted to do something a little bit different for locals before we like lock in for YCS Richmond, right? So I was like, okay, so Artmage is new to me, but I don't just want to play Canine still, as much as I love it. So I'll play Fiendsmith. I haven't played Fiendsmith in a while. There's synergy there. You can also play Artmage with the other like lore archetypes in Metis' story, which would Doomsday is one of them, and the new set that's coming out next week, Burst Protocol, has Elf Notes, which is the other one that pairs with them. So Metis is also a starter for them. He summons their Power Patron, and they can also, funny enough, Elf Notes plays Fiendsmith cards. So if that's something you like, if you like Fiendsmith, if you like lore decks and you want your pile of nonsense, or if you just want to play pure Artmage because it's a fun fusion deck, pick them up. That's all I got, man. It's a cool deck. It's a cool deck.
Do you have any shout outs you want to make?
Yeah, you. Nah, I'm fine. Nah, we're good. But I really hope your guys sure seem to like my deck profile, so I hope
and the feature matches too.
And the feature matches. So honestly, we should at some point maybe get a feature match with this deck on cam. That would be great. But I hope you guys like my thought process. I'm a little ranty and rambly about it, but that's just because there's a lot to talk about with this.
Oh, yeah.
Deck. So
I agree.
Shout outs to Ray for doing the video. Shout outs to the local crew at the computer store for playing. And if Ray doesn't have anything else, I say pass turn.